Hey guys, this is SoFlo Josh, and today finally Toyota has unveiled the 2023 Toyota BZ4X. So the BZ4X is essentially the Beyond Zero name that they're going for, kind of like a sub-brand of electric vehicles that will be coming to the Toyota lineup. So the BZ4X, it's going to be its first model and its first electric vehicle ever to be created from Toyota, which is very exciting nonetheless. It took them a very long time, I will say that, but I'm very happy that now they're finally here and doing this. The BZ4X does ride on its own dedicated platform. It is the E-TNGA platform that will also be used for other electric vehicles in the Toyota lineup, as well as working with Subaru to be making this platform for the Subaru side. So Toyota and Subaru came together just like what they did with the GR86 and the BRZ, and they created this model. Of course, when car companies do that, you gotta understand something. The reason why they're doing it is because it's going to be becoming cost cutting, just like what Honda does with their Honda and Acura products. The first electric vehicles are going to be actually cooperated with GM and their Ultium platform that they have. But let's get back into the Toyota side. So the BZ4X, it's like I mentioned, it's first ever electric vehicle. We've had the Prius for a very, very long time. It's a huge hit. The Prius has always been a huge hit. It's been an alternative, engine that you can be using to help the environment. That's per se. But this one has a single motor for the front-wheel drive version with 250 miles of range. Mind you, there is also an all-wheel drive version, so expect those 250 miles of range to go down, since the all-wheel drive version will not, of course, it's going to be heavier, plus, you're going to have to send a lot of the power to the rear end. So, of course, that horsepower that we have, the 215 horsepower, will, of course, bring down the range probably to 220, just like the Solterra version has. But it's adequate for the first ever electric vehicle. I didn't suspect anything more than 250 miles of range. We got to be more realistic when it comes to this. They're not Tesla, they are Toyota. They're a big brand, but mind you, making an electric vehicle is not simple, and the cost for batteries is still very high. So that's the reason why, like I mentioned, Subaru and Toyota came together to collaborate with this vehicle. So the BZ4X Beyond Zero, like I mentioned, 250 miles of range. It also has 215 horsepower, which is adequate enough for the segment. I wouldn't expect more, especially with Toyota being a very economical brand as they are today compared to what they were 20 years ago, or even more than that, 30 years ago when we had the rear-wheel drive Corollas and whatnot. But now we're in the 21st century, so of course a lot of the things that we expected from the past are no longer here, and we got to look at the future, and electric for them is going to be the future. So a lot of things they're going to be focusing on with this electric model is that, they're going to reduce that carbon footprint that they currently have a lot more. The interior of the vehicle will be one of those first steps as well, with a lot of the materials being vegan materials, so they won't be using leather materials at all. It will be basically just vegan materials, which I want to see how that actually stays true to the future. Whenever you have this model, let's see how it withstands, of course, ingress and egress within the vehicle, and how the actual materials wear over time. It's going to be very interesting. So, of course, the exterior, a lot of people don't really like it that much. I personally, I think it looks pretty good. It's not crazy. I wouldn't have expected Toyota to go crazy in the first place with the design. It does give off a very Japanese appearance though, and that's one thing I gotta give Toyota, is that it gives off that Japanese kind of appearance in some aspects. Let's say, for example, that line on the side at the door, the driver's side door that goes all the way down, it's very sharp, and it gives it kind of like that katana look to it. And I really do like the way that they kind of brought this line on the side profile where the rear door is at, kind of giving it that more elongated rear end, even though this is actually a lot in width shorter than the RAV4. The RAV4 is actually pretty big compared to this. So remember that. Even though they have those fender flares on either side of the fender, kind of that black painted instead of it being a black plastic cladding like this Subaru version has, mind you, this one is fully painted, so it's metallic painted. I can understand why they did this. This is going to be more of like an urban version of the two. The Subaru version, from what it looks like, will be the more off-road version than this one, but it looks to be, from what Subaru has on their end as well, it looks to be 8.6 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty adequate for an EV. Remember, a lot of EVs are essentially lowered. Not that many are too tall because, you know, of course, you have those electric batteries, and when you have electric batteries, that brings down the center of gravity a lot. Which is pretty good for driving dynamics, and I really wonder how this is actually going to drive. I mean, I know that they're going for more economy wise, but the platform, the TNGA platform that they currently have right now is a pretty good platform, and I've been hearing a lot of good reviews on them, and I expect the E-TNGA platform to be even better of that, especially with learning over the years what the TNGA platform is capable of. So like I mentioned, the front end looks adequate. Shrink down headlights in the front, full on LED throughout the whole entire vehicle. I mean, it's an electric vehicle. The majority of electric vehicles always have full on LED. So keep that in mind. It does look nice on the side profile, like I mentioned, even with these limited rims that they have on. It looks very, very adequate and very nice. Getting onto the rear side though, I have to say, this is probably a very, very nice rear. It kind of gives me a very European appearance on the raked back roofline. It kind of also gives me a little bit of a shrunken down version of a RAV4 in some aspects. If you look at the C-pillar, you can kind of see the RAV4 in that design language, but shrunken down, and of course the back end is a little bit raked downward. And the glass looks pretty good. I mean, it has a little bit of a spoiler there to help with on the roof to help with the aerodynamics, and there's a little spoiler that's above the rear tail light. Now the tail lights look really good in my opinion. I really do like the tail lights of the design where they kind of connect via the full width of the rear end, and it's full on LED like I mentioned up front and the rear now. So it looks very, very nice. I really like the way it looks, and you see all these different kind of design elements within the rear, kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from their current Toyota products and basically plucking it on here, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. Of course, you have it looks like a diffuser, but it's not really a diffuser. It's like a faux diffuser on the rear, and that's just to help with aerodynamics, of course. And but overall, I really do like the way that the exterior looks, depending on where the photo is taken. Like the one you see on screen here, like I was just talking about, looks very, very nice, especially in the supersonic red that we have here. So getting onto the interior, like I mentioned to you, the interior has a full-on vegan interior. So the materials that you would find in here are not leather. They're not anything near what you expect other brands to be using, but you know, most EV brands do this whole entire vegan interior. The Polestar models come with vegan interior, so does the Rivian models, as well as the Tesla products. So I didn't expect anything less from that, and I'm glad that Toyota did that to, like I mentioned, reduce that carbon footprint that they had. We do not get the yoke style steering wheel. I suspect the reason why we don't get that over here compared to the one in Japan is because they probably did research from a design study, and they asked, and more than likely a lot of the people said that they don't like that, and I can understand that. I mean, look what happened with the Tesla yoke style steering wheel. I got a huge bunch of backlash, and it's still getting backlash today, so I didn't expect anything less. Of course, you do get that new 14-inch touchscreen display that we first found out in the Lexus NX. It's plugged into here. It looks a little bit different. It doesn't look like it's tacked on late in design, not like how the Lexus version looks, but this one looks a little bit better, and it looks a lot more cleaner compared to that of the Lexus. You do have also a cockpit style digital gauge cluster, and it looks kind of like I think it looks like 10 inches, but it's pretty far away from the steering wheel. I kind of wonder if the steering wheel is actually going to block that, but I'm not sure. And of course you do have the side windows, since the mirror caps are actually located on the door itself. It adds more visibility whenever you're driving. But overall, the interior looks really nice. You get a ton of leg room in the back seat as well. Roughly around, it has roughly flat floors, and of course you do get a wide enough area for your trunk, which is pretty good. I really like the way that Toyota has done this model. Of course, you wouldn't expect anything less with a chassis that essentially is a battery chassis, and it's a skateboard chassis. So I wouldn't expect anything less, and I'm kind of glad that Toyota decided to go this route. It looks really good. I like the way that it looks, and I'm sure these are going to sell good. They're going to sell like crazy. I'm sure a lot of the Prius drivers, in fact, will be trading in their Priuses for this full-on electric BZ4X, or, I mean, depending on how they, take the whole entire 250 miles of range. Mind you, Toyota is now doing over-the-air update within their vehicles, so maybe that 250 might even go out to 270, for all we know. I mean, look what happened with the Polestar 2. They increased the amount of range that you get via an over-the-air update, which is pretty cool. We live in the 21st century. Anything's possible nowadays, and I think even it's possible for Toyota to go ahead and bring up the amount of range that they have in the model. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll have some other videos of certain vehicles from the LA Auto Show coming out this week. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.